My name is Lucas Bennett. I just turned 19, and I thought becoming an adult meant finally being seen as an equal by my family. Instead, it meant discovering that I had always been invisible to them except when they needed something. This is the story of a family photo I was never in, a caption that cut deeper than any words spoken aloud, and the moment I realized that being excluded from their celebration was actually the greatest gift they could have given me. It was a Saturday in late April. I was in my apartment near campus, the small studio I had rented when I started at Boston College last fall. I was studying for finals, my laptop open, textbook spread across my desk, when my phone buzzed with notifications from the family group chat. Lots of them. That rapid-fire buzzing that meant something big was happening. I picked up my phone and opened the chat. Photos. Dozens of photos flooding in. My parents standing in front of a house I had never seen before. A beautiful colonial, with white columns and a wraparound porch. My older sister, Emma, posing in what looked like a massive kitchen with granite countertops and stainless steel appliances. My younger brother Jake, in a bedroom that was easily twice the size of my entire apartment. My grandparents sitting on a leather couch in a living room with vaulted ceilings. My aunts and uncles touring a backyard with a pool and a patio. Everyone was there. Everyone was smiling. Everyone was celebrating. Everyone except me. I scrolled through photo after photo, looking for myself in the background, in the corner, anywhere. But I was not there. I had not been invited. I had not even been told this was happening. Then came the caption, posted by my mother in the chat. The family that stayed together. Our new home. Our new beginning. Blessed beyond measure. The family that stayed together. I read those words 3 times, trying to process what they meant. The family that stayed together. As opposed to what? The family member who left? The one who chose college over staying home? The one who was not there because he had not been invited? I stared at my phone for a long time. My thumbs hovered over the keyboard, wanting to type something, wanting to ask why I had not been told about this, why I had not been invited, why I was the only person in our entire extended family who had been excluded from what was clearly a major celebration. But I did not type anything. I just closed the app and set my phone face down on my desk. My roommate, Oliver, came home an hour later and found me still sitting at my desk, staring at my closed laptop. "Dude, you okay? You look like someone died." "My family just bought a new house," I said. "They had a big party. Everyone was there. Everyone except me." "What? That is messed up. Did they forget to invite you?" "I do not think you forget to invite someone to something this big. I think it was intentional." "Why would they intentionally exclude you?" I did not have an answer. At least, not one that made sense. Oliver suggested. Maybe it was a surprise. Maybe they were planning to tell me later. Maybe there was some reasonable explanation. But I knew better. This was deliberate. This was a message. I just did not understand what the message was. Over the next few days, I watched as the photos spread across social media. My mother posted them on Facebook with the same caption, "The family that stayed together." My sister put them on Instagram with hashtags about family and blessings and new beginnings. Even my grandparents shared the photos, everyone celebrating this beautiful new house, this fresh start, this moment of family unity that apparently did not include me. Friends from high school started commenting, "Wow, your parents' new house is amazing. So jealous of that pool. Your family is so blessed." And every comment felt like another reminder that I was not part of it. I was not in the photos. I was not at the celebration. I was not included in the family that stayed together. I did not respond to any of it. I did not like the posts. I did not comment. I did not reach out to ask what was happening. I just went silent. If they wanted to pretend I did not exist, I could return the favor. My mother called me 2 days later. I let it go to voicemail. She called again. Voicemail. She texted, "Lucas, why are you not responding? We wanted to tell you about the house. Call me back." But she had not wanted to tell me about the house. She had wanted everyone else to know about it. She had thrown a party and invited the entire family except her own son. So I deleted the text and went back to studying for my finals. Let me back up. Let me explain how I ended up in a position where my family could exclude me from their new house celebration and I could just shrug and move on with my life. Let me tell you about the 18 years before that moment and how I had slowly, quietly become the person who did not fit into their perfect family picture. I was always different from the rest of them. My parents, my siblings, my extended family, they were all about appearances, about status, about showing the world how successful and happy and blessed they were. They cared about having the right cars, wearing the right clothes, living in the right neighborhood, posting the right photos on social media. Everything was curated. Everything was performed. Everything was about maintaining an image. I never cared about any of that. I wore thrift store clothes because they were cheap and functional. I drove a beat-up Honda I had bought for $2,000. I chose a college based on academic programs and financial aid, not prestige or social status. I worked part-time at a bookstore because I loved books, not because it looked good on my resume. I lived authentically instead of performatively, and my family hated that. They hated that I would not play along with their games, that I would not pretend we were the perfect family when I knew about Dad's drinking and Mom's shopping addiction and Emma's eating disorder and Jake's anxiety that no one wanted to acknowledge, that I would not smile for photos when we had just been fighting, that I would not post happy updates on social media about family events that had been tense and uncomfortable. "Why do you always have to be so difficult?" my mother would ask when I refused to participate in whatever performance she was staging. "Why cannot you just go along with things like everyone else?" Because going along with things meant lying, and I was tired of lying. I was tired of pretending everything was fine when it was not, tired of maintaining a facade for people I barely knew, tired of being someone I was not just to make my family look good to their friends and neighbors. When I left for college, I think they were relieved. One less person who refused to play their game. One less voice pointing out the contradictions and the dysfunction. They could go back to their carefully constructed reality without me there to question it. But I had not expected them to erase me entirely, to act like I did not exist, to celebrate major life events without even telling me they were happening. Finals week came and went. I finished my freshman year with a 3.8 GPA, which I was proud of even though I knew my family would find something to criticize about it. I stayed on campus for the summer, taking a couple of classes and working full-time at the bookstore. I did not go home. I did not call. I just lived my life. And then, 6 weeks after the house photos, my parents showed up at my apartment. It was a Tuesday evening. I had just gotten home from work, still in my bookstore uniform, when there was a knock on my door. I opened it to find my mother and father standing there, looking uncomfortable in my dingy apartment building hallway. "Lucas," my mother said, smiling that smile she used when she wanted something. "We need to talk to you about something important." I did not invite them in right away. I just stood there in the doorway, looking at them. The parents who had excluded me from their house celebration, who had posted photos with the caption, the family that stayed together, knowing I would see it and understand I was not part of that family, who had not called or texted or reached out for 6 weeks until they showed up unannounced needing something. "What do you want?" I asked. "Can we come in? This is not really a conversation for the hallway." I stepped aside and let them into my small studio. They looked around with barely concealed distaste at my cheap furniture from IKEA, my second-hand dishes, my stacks of library books. my life that did not meet their standards of success. So, Dad said, sitting on my futon like it might contaminate him, "We wanted to talk to you about the house. The house I was not invited to see. The celebration I was not told about. That house." Mom had the grace to look uncomfortable. "Lucas, we were going to tell you. It all just happened so fast. We found the house, made an offer, it got accepted, and then suddenly we were closing and moving, and there was so much to do. You had time to throw a party. You had time to invite grandparents and aunts and uncles and cousins. You had time to take dozens of photos and post them all over social media. But you did not have time to tell your own son that you were buying a house. We knew you were busy with school," Dad said. "We did not want to bother you." "Right. That is why you posted it in the family group chat where you knew I would see it. Because you did not want to bother me." They looked at each other. They were not used to me calling them out. When I lived at home, I would just stay quiet, let things go, avoid confrontation. But I was not that kid anymore. I was 19 years old, living on my own, supporting myself, and I was done letting them gaslight me. "Okay," Mom admitted, "maybe we handled it badly. But we are here now. We want to show you the house. We want you to be part of this." "Why? What changed between 6 weeks ago, when I was not part of the family that stayed together, and now, when you suddenly want me involved?" Another look between them. Then Dad cleared his throat. "The thing is, Lucas, we need a bit of help with the house." There it was, the real reason for the visit. Not an apology, not an attempt to repair our relationship. They needed something. "What kind of help?" I asked, even though I already knew I was not going to give it to them. "Well, the house is bigger than we expected. The mortgage payment is higher than we planned for. And there were some unexpected expenses with the move and credit card debt that needs to be paid off, and you want money. We want you to contribute to the family household," Mom corrected. "You are part of this family. We all need to pitch in." I actually laughed. I could not help it. I am part of the family now, when you need money, but I was not part of the family when you were celebrating the house. "That is not fair," Dad said. "We are always your family. We are always going to be your family. And family helps each other." "Family helps each other," I repeated. "Okay, where was my help? When I was trying to figure out how to pay for college. When I was filling out financial aid forms, and you told me I was on my own. When I was working 2 jobs my senior year of high school to save money, and you were spending thousands on vacations and new cars. Where was the family helping each other then?" "We have always supported you," Mom said. "We gave you a place to live for 18 years. We fed you and clothed you, and you did the legal minimum required of parents. Congratulations. That does not mean I owe you money for a house I was not even told about until after you bought it." Dad's face was getting red. "We are not asking for much. Just $500 a month. You have a job. You can afford it." $500 a month? That is more than half my rent. Why would I pay for your mortgage when I am barely affording my own place?" "Because we are family," Mom said like it was obvious. "Because we need help. Because the house is for all of us, including you. You will have a room there when you visit. A room in a house you bought without telling me. A room I was not offered when you threw your celebration. A room I am supposed to help pay for, even though I was literally excluded from the family photo. Do you hear how insane that sounds?" They did not see it as insane. They saw it as perfectly reasonable. In their worldview, I was supposed to contribute financially while being emotionally and socially excluded. I was supposed to fund their lifestyle while not being part of their life. I was supposed to help maintain the image of their perfect family, even though I was not actually included in that family. "Lucas, we need you to do this," Dad said, and his tone had shifted from asking to demanding. "We are in a difficult financial situation. We cannot afford the house without help, and you are the only one who can help us. What about Emma? She has a job. Why cannot she contribute? Emma is saving for her wedding. She cannot afford to help right now. What about Jake? Jake is still in high school. That is not fair to ask him. But it is fair to ask me, the son you did not even invite to see your new house. You are being petty, Mom snapped. You are holding a grudge over something so small. We forgot to invite you to one party, and now you are going to punish us by letting us lose our house. I am not letting you lose anything. You made a choice to buy a house you cannot afford. That is not my problem to solve. I am 19 years old. I am working and going to school full-time. I am barely making ends meet myself. I do not have $500 a month to give you for a mortgage on a house I will never live in. You are being selfish, Dad said. After everything we have done for you. What have you done for me? Specifically, tell me what you have done that makes me owe you thousands of dollars. They could not answer, because the truth was they had done the bare minimum. They had provided food and shelter when I was legally a minor. They had driven me to school and soccer practice when I was too young to drive myself. But they had not paid for college. They had not helped me buy a car. They had not given me money when I was struggling. They had not been there for me emotionally or financially once I turned 18. They had made it clear I was on my own. And now they wanted me to fund their lifestyle, to pay for a house that symbolized everything I had rejected: excess, appearances, living beyond your means to impress people. A house they had celebrated without me, with a caption that literally excluded me from the family. I am not giving you money, I said firmly. I am not contributing to your mortgage. I am not helping you maintain a house you cannot afford. You made adult decisions. Now, face adult consequences. Fine, Dad said, standing up. Then do not expect to be welcome in our home. Do not expect family dinners or holidays or graduation celebrations. If you are not going to be part of this family financially, then you are not part of it at all. I was never part of it, I said quietly. You made that clear with your photo caption. The family that stayed together. I got the message. I am the one who left, the one who chose college and independence over living in your perfect fake world. And you know what? I am okay with that. I would rather be alone and honest than surrounded by people who only value me when I am useful to them. They left without another word. No apology. No acknowledgement that they had hurt me. No recognition that excluding me from their celebration and then demanding money was manipulative and cruel. They just walked out of my apartment and out of my life. My phone started buzzing almost immediately. Messages in the family group chat. Emma saying I was being unreasonable. Jake saying he did not understand why I could not just help. My grandparents weighing in about family loyalty. My aunts and uncles adding their opinions. Everyone telling me I was wrong. Everyone saying family helps family. Everyone pressuring me to give in and send money. I left the group chat. Just exited the conversation entirely. And then I blocked everyone. My parents, my siblings, my extended family. Everyone who had been in those celebration photos, in that beautiful new house, smiling for the camera while excluding me. If they wanted to be a family without me, I would let them. It hurt. I am not going to pretend it did not hurt. I spent that night crying, grieving the family I had never really had but had always hoped might exist someday. I grieved the parents who would rather manipulate me for money than actually love me. I grieved the siblings who saw nothing wrong with what had happened. I grieved the extended family who took my parents' side without even hearing mine. But when I woke up the next morning, I also felt something else. Relief. Freedom. The burden of trying to fit into a family that did not want me unless I was useful had been lifted. I was alone, yes, but I was also free. The summer continued. I worked and took classes and slowly built a life that was mine. I made friends at work who became like family. I got closer to my roommate Oliver, who could not believe my family had treated me that way. I started seeing a therapist through the university's counseling services, working through the complicated feelings of being essentially disowned by your own parents. Do you think they will ever apologize? My therapist asked during one session. No, I said. They do not think they did anything wrong. In their minds, I am the bad guy for not helping them. They will never see it any other way. How does that make you feel? Sad, angry, but also free, because I do not have to try anymore. I do not have to hope they will change, or see me differently, or value me for who I am. I can just let go. And I did let go. I stopped checking their social media, stopped wondering if they were okay, stopped hoping the phone would ring with an apology. I just focused on my own life, my own goals, my own future. 3 months later, I got a LinkedIn message from my father's brother, Uncle Richard. Lucas, I heard about what happened with your parents. I am sorry they put you in that position. If you ever need anything, reach out. You always have family here. It was the first acknowledgement from anyone in my family that what had happened was wrong. I thanked him, but did not take him up on the offer. I had learned that family was not about blood. It was about who showed up for you. And my family had shown me exactly who they were. My sophomore year started in September. I was doing well academically, working enough to pay my bills, building a life I was proud of. I had joined some clubs on campus, was dating someone kind, was making plans for internships and study abroad, and all the things college students do when they are not carrying the weight of a dysfunctional family on their shoulders. Then, in October, I got a text from a number I did not recognize. Lucas, this is Emma. I got a new phone. Can we talk? I should have ignored it, should have deleted it and moved on. But some part of me, some stupid hopeful part, wanted to believe my sister was reaching out because she realized what had happened was wrong. So I called her. Hey, she said when she answered. Thanks for calling back. What do you want, Emma? I wanted to check on you, see how you are doing. We have not talked in months. Whose fault is that? I know we messed up. The house thing was handled badly. But Lucas, we miss you. The family misses you. The family that stayed together? That family. She sighed. That was a bad caption. Mom regrets it. She did not mean it the way it sounded. Yes, she did. She meant exactly what it sounded like. I was not there. I was not invited. I was not part of the family in that moment. And then, when you needed money, suddenly I was family again. That is not how family works, Emma. We were wrong to ask for money. I told them it was too much. But Lucas, they are really struggling. Dad had to take a second job. Mom is stressed all the time. The house payment is killing them. They might lose it. Then they should sell it. Downsize. Get something they can actually afford. They cannot sell. They are underwater on the mortgage. They owe more than it is worth. And they are too proud to ask for help from anyone else. You are their only option. I am not an option. I am a person. And that person was excluded from your celebration and then expected to fund your lifestyle. That person said no. And that answer has not changed. What if I said we would make it up to you? What if we apologized, really apologized, and included you in everything going forward? Would you help then? I thought about it. Part of me wanted to believe her, wanted to believe that my family could change, could see me as more than a bank account, could value me for who I was instead of what I could provide. But I knew better. I had lived with them for 18 years. I knew how they operated. No, I said, because it would not last. You would include me until the financial crisis was over, and then I would be back to being invisible, back to being the one who does not fit, who does not play along, who asks uncomfortable questions. I would rather be alone and respected than included and used. So that is it. You are just done with us. Emma, you were done with me first. You just did not realize it until I stopped being useful. She hung up. I blocked the new number, and I went back to my life. The rest of sophomore year passed without incident. No contact from my family. No emergency visits or manipulative phone calls. Just silence. And in that silence, I thrived. My grades were excellent. I got promoted at the bookstore to shift supervisor. I had a tight-knit group of friends who actually cared about me. I was happy in a way I had never been when I was trying to fit into my biological family. Junior year brought new challenges and opportunities. I studied abroad in Ireland for a semester, something I funded with scholarships and my own savings. I changed my major from business to social work, deciding I wanted to help other people who came from dysfunctional families. I started volunteering at a youth center, working with teenagers who were dealing with family issues. One of the kids I worked with, a 17-year-old named Marcus, reminded me of myself. He came from a family that only valued him when he was meeting their expectations. When he told them he was gay, they told him he was no longer welcome at family gatherings unless he fixed himself. He was devastated, angry, hurt. "Do you ever regret leaving your family?" he asked me during one session. I had shared parts of my story with him, hoping it would help. "No," I said honestly. "It hurt at first. It still hurts sometimes. But leaving was the healthiest thing I ever did. It freed me to become who I really am instead of who they wanted me to be." But do not you get lonely? Sometimes. But I would rather be lonely and authentic than surrounded by people who do not really see me. And Marcus, being alone is not the same as being lonely. I have friends now who are more like family than my biological family ever was. I have built a chosen family. You can too. He cried that day, letting out years of hurt and rejection. And when he left, he looked lighter, freer, like I had given him permission to save himself, which is all I had ever needed from someone when I was his age. My senior year at Boston College was the best year of my college experience. I had a solid group of friends. I was excelling in my major. I had lined up a job after graduation working for a nonprofit that helped families in crisis. I was in a healthy relationship with someone who came from a functional family and could not understand mine, but tried anyway. I was happy, genuinely, deeply happy. And then, 2 months before graduation, my mother called from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Lucas." Her voice sounded tired, older. "Lucas, it is your mom. Please do not hang up." I almost did hang up, but curiosity kept me on the line. "What do you want?" "I need to tell you something. Your father and I are getting divorced." I did not know how to respond to that. Part of me felt vindicated. Their perfect family image was cracking. But part of me felt sad too. They were still my parents, even if they were terrible ones. "I am sorry to hear that," I said, because it seemed like the thing to say. "We are selling the house. We cannot afford it anymore. We are both moving into apartments. Downsizing. Starting over." "Okay. Lucas." I called because I wanted to apologize. Really apologize. Not because I need something from you, but because I owe you that. The way we treated you, especially with the house, that was wrong. I have been in therapy for 6 months now, working through a lot of things. And I realized that we used you. We excluded you, and then expected you to fund our lifestyle. That was emotional abuse, even if I did not see it that way at the time. I was quiet for a long moment. This was what I had wanted to hear 2 years ago. The acknowledgement that I had been wronged. The apology without strings attached. But now, hearing it, I felt almost nothing. The wound had healed. The scar was there, but it did not hurt anymore. "Thank you for saying that," I finally said. "I do not expect you to forgive me. I do not expect you to want a relationship with me. I just needed you to know that I see it now. I see what we did to you, and I am sorry. Are you only seeing it now because Dad is gone and you need someone, or because you actually understand what you did wrong?" There was a long pause. Then, both, I think. The therapy helped me see it. But losing your father made me realize what I lost when I pushed you away. And I am not calling to ask you to come back or to be part of our family again. I am calling to release you, to tell you that you do not owe us anything. You never did, and I am sorry we made you feel like you did. I felt tears prick my eyes. I needed to hear that 2 years ago, Mom. I know. I am sorry it took so long. We talked for a few more minutes. She told me about the divorce, about selling the house at a loss, about Emma's wedding being postponed because no one could afford it, about Jake struggling in his first year of college. She did not ask for help. She did not guilt-trip me. She just updated me like a distant relative might, filling me in on family news without expectation. Before we hung up, she said, "I am proud of you, Lucas, for standing up for yourself, for building a life on your own, for being braver than I ever was. You are a better person than any of us deserve." I did not say thank you. I did not say I forgave her. I just said, "Take care of yourself, Mom. I hope things get better for you." And then I hung up and cried, not because I was sad, but because something had finally been acknowledged. The hurt had been named. The wrong had been admitted. It did not fix anything. It did not make us a family again. But it gave me closure I had not realized I needed. I graduated from Boston College with honors that May. Mom came to the ceremony. Just her, not Dad or Emma or Jake. She sat in the audience and clapped when I walked across the stage. Afterward, she gave me a card with money inside. Not much, but a symbolic gesture. "For your future," she wrote. "I am sorry I did not invest in it sooner." We had lunch together after the ceremony. It was awkward, stilted, full of long pauses and careful words. But it was honest. There was no performance, no image to maintain. Just two people who shared DNA, trying to figure out if there was anything else between them. "Are you happy?" she asked me over coffee. "Yeah," I said. "I really am." "Good. That is all I ever should have wanted for you. I am sorry it took me so long to figure that out." We did not make plans to see each other again. We did not exchange phone numbers or promise to stay in touch. We just said goodbye in the restaurant parking lot, both of us knowing this might be the last time we saw each other, and that was okay. I moved to Portland after graduation for my new job. I rented a small apartment, adopted a cat, started building a life in a new city. I worked with families in crisis, helping them navigate impossible situations, using everything I had learned from my own dysfunctional family to help others. One of my first clients was a 21-year-old woman named Sarah, whose parents had excluded her from their family business because she was a woman. They expected her to work for free while paying her brothers a salary. When she refused, they told her she was selfish and ungrateful. She came to me devastated, not knowing how to set boundaries without losing her family entirely. I told her my story about the house photos and the caption and the demand for money, about walking away and building my own life, about how painful it was at first, but how freeing it became. And I watched her face change as she realized she was not alone, that someone else had been through something similar and survived. "Do you ever talk to them now?" she asked. "Sometimes. My mom. Occasionally. We have a distant but cordial relationship. We will never be close, but we do not hate each other anymore. That is enough. Do you regret cutting them off?" No, not even a little. It gave me the space to become who I really am instead of who they wanted me to be. And Sarah, that is priceless. Your authentic self is worth more than their approval. She started crying. I handed her tissues, and I thought about Marcus from the youth center, about all the kids I had worked with over the years who needed permission to save themselves, about how that photo exclusion, as painful as it had been, had given me that permission, had shown me so clearly that I was not valued, not wanted, not part of the family that stayed together. And by excluding me, they had freed me. They had cut the ties I had been too guilty to cut myself. They had made the choice I needed to make, but was too scared to make on my own. That photo with everyone except me, that caption about the family that stayed together, had been the clearest message I ever received. I did not belong there. And once I accepted that, once I stopped trying to fit into a space that was not made for me, I could finally find where I actually belonged. By the time I was 25, I had built a life I never could have imagined at 19. I was a senior case manager at the nonprofit, running my own team of social workers. I had published articles about family dynamics and financial abuse. I gave workshops at universities about setting boundaries with toxic family members. I had a partner who came from a loving, functional family, and who showed me every day what healthy relationships looked like. And I had my chosen family, Oliver, my college roommate who had become my best friend, the friends from work who celebrated my wins and supported me through my losses, the people from my volunteer work who understood complex family trauma because they had lived it too, my partner's family who welcomed me to their holidays and treated me like I had always been one of them. This was my family now, not the people who shared my DNA but excluded me from their lives until they needed something. The people who chose to be in my life because they valued who I was, not what I could provide. I still thought about that photo sometimes. Everyone gathered in that beautiful house they could not afford, smiling for the camera, performing happiness for social media, and me, conspicuously absent. For a long time, that photo represented everything that was wrong with my family. Their obsession with image over reality, their willingness to exclude their own son if he did not fit the aesthetic, their complete inability to see me as a person rather than a problem. But over time, I started to see it differently. That photo was not about my exclusion. It was about my freedom. They had drawn a line, and I had been on the wrong side of it. But being on the wrong side of their line meant I could draw my own lines, build my own life, create my own definition of family. Every year on the anniversary of that day, the day the photos appeared in the group chat, I did something to celebrate my independence. The first year, I was still too raw to celebrate anything. I just ordered pizza and watched movies with Oliver, trying not to think about what my family was doing in their new house. The second year, I took myself out to a nice dinner, toasting to survival. The third year, I threw a party with my chosen family, calling it the family that chose each other. By the fifth year, it had become a tradition, a day to honor the hard choice I made to choose myself. Tyler reached out when he turned 21. He found me on LinkedIn and sent a message asking if we could talk. I hesitated for a long time before responding. Tyler had been 15 when everything went down, technically old enough to have an opinion, but still young enough that I did not blame him for not speaking up. We met for coffee in Boston. He was a senior at UMass, studying engineering, and he looked so much older than I remembered. We made awkward small talk for a few minutes before he got to the point. "I need to apologize," he said, "for not standing up for you, for letting them exclude you and then asking you for money. I was a kid and I was scared, but that is not an excuse. I should have said something. I should have defended you. You were 15, Tyler. What were you supposed to do? More than nothing. I could have texted you privately. I could have told them it was wrong. I could have not participated in the celebration if you were not invited. But I did not do any of that. I just went along with it because it was easier." I appreciated his honesty. "What made you reach out now?" I am graduating soon, and I started thinking about my own life, my own future, my own relationship with Mom and Dad. They are still a mess, Lucas. Still living beyond their means, still creating drama, still making everything about appearances. And I realized I do not want to end up like them. I want to be like you. Independent, honest, free. Free is not the same as easy, I told him. I lost my entire family when I chose freedom. Are you ready for that? I think so. I have been working on it in therapy, setting boundaries, learning to say no, figuring out who I am separate from who they want me to be. It is hard, but I think it is necessary. What do they think about you being in therapy? He laughed bitterly. They think I am being dramatic, that I am ungrateful, that therapy is for weak people who cannot handle normal family stress. They have no idea what I actually talk about in therapy, which is growing up in a house where everything was a performance, where we were not allowed to have problems or be imperfect or show weakness, where we were trained to prioritize image over honesty, where you got punished for not playing along. He paused, where my older brother got excluded from a family celebration because he refused to fund their lifestyle. You understand what happened then. I do now. At the time, I just thought everyone was fighting about money and I should stay out of it. But my therapist helped me see what was really happening. Financial abuse, emotional manipulation, scapegoating. You were not the problem, Lucas. You were the only one who was willing to acknowledge that there was a problem. We talked for 3 hours that day. I told him about my work, my life, my chosen family. He told me about his plans after graduation, his relationship with a girl his parents did not approve of because she was not successful enough, his growing understanding that he needed distance from them to be healthy. Do you think you will ever have a relationship with them again? He asked as we were leaving. I talk to Mom occasionally, very surface level. I know about her life, she knows about mine, but we are not close, and probably never will be. Dad and I have not spoken since the day he showed up at my apartment demanding money. Emma and I have no relationship, but Tyler, that is okay. I do not need their presence in my life to be whole. I have built something better without them. I want that too, to build something better. Then you will. It takes work and it takes courage, but you will. And Tyler, if you need someone who understands, who has been through it, I am here. We might not have been close growing up, but we are both survivors of the same dysfunction. That counts for something. He hugged me before he left, holding on longer than necessary. When he pulled back, there were tears in his eyes. Thank you for not giving up on me, even when I did not stand up for you. You were a kid in an impossible situation. I never blamed you. After that, Tyler and I stayed in touch. Not constantly, but consistently. He would text when he needed advice about setting boundaries. I would check in when I knew family holidays were happening, offering support from a distance. We were not the brothers we might have been if we had grown up in a different family, but we were something. We were connected by shared trauma and mutual understanding, and that was enough. Emma never reached out again after that call my sophomore year. I heard through Tyler that she had gotten married, divorced within a year, moved back in with Mom, and was generally continuing the family pattern of making poor decisions and blaming everyone else. I felt sad for her, but not responsible. We were adults now. We all had choices. She was making hers, and I was making mine. Dad remarried someone much younger, someone who Tyler said was basically his age and super uncomfortable at family events. I felt nothing about that. He was a stranger now, someone I used to know, someone who had shown me exactly who he was when he showed up at my apartment demanding money for a house I was not invited to see. Mom continued to reach out occasionally. Birthday texts, holiday calls. She never asked for money, never pressured me to visit, never tried to manipulate me back into the family. She seemed to have genuinely accepted that I was gone, and that it was her fault. We had a distant, cordial relationship. I did not love her the way children are supposed to love their mothers, but I did not hate her either. I just felt neutral, which was honestly a relief after years of complicated feelings. One year, she sent me a card on the anniversary of the house photos. Inside, she had written, "I know you probably do not want to hear from me today of all days, but I wanted you to know that I look at those photos sometimes, and I see what is missing. Not just you, but the son I should have protected. The son I should have valued for who he was instead of what he could provide. I am sorry I could not be the mother you needed. I am sorry that photo exists. I am sorry for all of it. I hope you have built a life you are proud of. You deserve that." I cried when I read it, not because it changed anything between us, but because it was the acknowledgement I had needed 5 years ago. The validation that I had been wronged. The confirmation that my feelings had been justified. It did not repair our relationship, but it gave me a kind of peace I had not expected to find. My work with families in crisis continued to be the most fulfilling part of my life. Every time I helped someone set boundaries with an abusive family member, every time I validated someone's decision to walk away from people who were hurting them, every time I reminded someone that they deserved to be valued for who they were rather than what they could provide, I was healing my own wounds while helping others heal theirs. I specialized in financial abuse cases, working with young adults whose families were exploiting them financially. It was disturbingly common. Parents who expected their college-age children to pay household bills. Siblings who borrowed money they never intended to repay. Extended family members who showed up only when they needed financial help. And the guilt, the crushing guilt that came with saying no to family, was universal. "But they are my parents," one client said to me, a 22-year-old named Alex who was supporting his entire family while working full-time and going to school. "How can I just cut them off?" "You are not cutting them off," I explained. "You are setting a boundary. You are saying, I cannot afford to support 3 adults while also paying for my own life. That is not cruel. That is honest. But they will be homeless without me. They will figure it out. They are adults. They managed to survive before you started helping them. They will manage after. The question is, can you survive if you keep doing this? Can you finish school? Can you build a career? Can you have a life of your own? Or will you sacrifice all of that to enable their poor choices?" He started crying. "I do not want to be like this forever. I do not want to be 40 years old still supporting them. But I do not know how to stop." You stop by stopping. It is that simple and that hard. You tell them you cannot help anymore. You let them face the consequences of their choices. You save yourself first. Is that what you did? Yes, and it was the hardest and best thing I ever did. Over the years, I helped dozens of young people escape financial abuse from their families. I connected them with resources. I validated their feelings. I showed them that survival was possible. And every single one of them reminded me why that photo, painful as it had been, was actually a gift. It showed me the truth. It freed me to walk away. It gave me the life I have now. On my 30th birthday, I was in Portland with my partner, celebrating with our chosen family. We had a small party at our apartment, nothing fancy, just good food and better company. People who knew my story, who understood where I came from, who loved me not despite my past, but including it. Oliver flew in from New York, where he was working as a lawyer. Tyler drove up from Boston, where he was starting a tech company with some friends. A few colleagues from work, some friends from grad school I had recently finished, my partner's family, who had become my family too. It was perfect. It was real. It was everything that photo from 10 years ago was not. As I looked around the room at these people who chose to be here, who chose to celebrate with me, who chose to be part of my life, without obligation or expectation. I thought about my biological family. Were they together somewhere, taking photos, performing happiness for social media? Probably. Were they thinking about me, the son and brother they had excluded and then tried to use? Maybe. Did it matter anymore? Not really. I had spent 10 years building a life without them. 10 years proving that family is not about blood or obligation, but about choice and respect and genuine care. 10 years showing other people that you can survive rejection from your family of origin and thrive in your family of choice. That night, after everyone had gone home and I was cleaning up with my partner, they asked me, "Do you ever regret how things turned out? With your family?" I thought about it. Really thought about it. No, I said finally. I regret that they were not capable of being better people. I regret that I did not get the family I deserved. But I do not regret walking away. That decision saved my life. It gave me this. I gestured around our apartment, at the evidence of the party we had just thrown, at the life we had built together. I would not trade this for anything, not even a family that wanted me in their photos. They hugged me tight. I am proud of you, for surviving, for building this, for being you. I am proud of me too. And I was 19-year-old me, sitting in that dorm room, looking at photos of a celebration I was not invited to, could never have imagined 30-year-old me, could not have foreseen the life I would build, the people I would help, the peace I would find, could not have known that being excluded from the family that stayed together would lead to building a family that actually stayed together because they wanted to, not because they had to. The photo still existed somewhere, I am sure. Probably in an album on my mother's Facebook, evidence of a moment that symbolized everything that was wrong with our family. Everyone gathered in a house they could not afford, smiling for the camera, performing happiness while hiding dysfunction. Everyone except me. But I had my own photos now. Real ones. Photos of graduations and holidays and ordinary moments with people who actually cared about me. Photos where everyone in the frame wanted to be there. Photos without captions that excluded anyone. Photos that represented actual family, not the performance of it. I thought about Marcus, the teenager from the youth center who had asked if I ever got lonely. I had told him that being alone was not the same as being lonely, that I had built a chosen family. 10 years later, I could say with complete confidence that I was not alone and I was not lonely. I was surrounded by people who saw me, valued me, celebrated me, not for what I could provide, but for who I was. That was the real difference. My biological family had wanted me in their lives only when I was useful. My chosen family wanted me in their lives because they enjoyed my company. My biological family had excluded me when I did not fit their image. My chosen family celebrated my authenticity. My biological family had demanded I fund their lifestyle. My chosen family would never dream of exploiting me that way. Was I angry at my biological family? Not anymore. Anger required energy, and I had stopped spending energy on people who did not value me. Was I sad about what could have been? Sometimes. But mostly I was grateful. Grateful that they showed me who they were clearly enough that I could make an informed choice. Grateful that they cut me loose before I wasted more years trying to earn love that was never going to be freely given. Grateful that their rejection pushed me toward people who actually wanted me. The last time I saw my mother was at Tyler's wedding 3 years ago. She was there with her boyfriend, a kind man who seemed to genuinely care about her. I was there with my partner and our friends who had become family. We were cordial. We took a photo together at Tyler's request. Me, Mom, Tyler, 3 people who shared DNA but very little else. Tyler sent me the photo later with a message, the family that chose each other. I smiled at that, because he was right. We had chosen this. Tyler had chosen to build a relationship with me separate from our parents. I had chosen to show up for him, even though it meant seeing Mom. Mom had chosen to respect my boundaries and not push for more than I could give. We were not a traditional family, but we were something honest and real. That photo sat on my desk at work now, next to the photos of my chosen family. A reminder of where I came from and how far I had traveled. A reminder that healing is possible. A reminder that you can survive rejection and build something beautiful in its place. Every day, I looked at that photo and remembered 19-year-old me, heartbroken and excluded, staring at pictures of a celebration he was not invited to. And I wished I could tell him what I know now. That being left out of that photo was the best thing that ever happened to him. That it would hurt for a while, but the pain would fade and freedom would remain. That he would build a life so much better than anything he could have had if he had stayed, if he had given them money, if he had continued trying to fit into a family that did not want him unless he was useful. I wished I could tell him to be patient, to trust the process, to know that walking away was not abandonment but liberation, to understand that the people who really loved him would never make him choose between his well-being and their approval. But 19-year-old me had to learn those lessons the hard way, had to sit with the pain of exclusion, had to resist the manipulation when they came asking for money, had to build a life from scratch without the support system most people took for granted, had to discover his own strength by being forced to rely on it. And he did. We did. I did. I survived being excluded from the family that stayed together. And in surviving, I discovered something important. I did not need to be in their family to have a family. I just needed to build my own, with people who actually wanted me there, who celebrated my presence instead of tolerating it, who would never dream of putting together a photo without me in it. That was my family now. Not the one I was born into, but the one I built. Not the people who shared my DNA, but the people who shared my values. Not the family that stayed together out of obligation, but the family that chose each other out of love. And that, I had learned over 10 years, was the only family that mattered. The only family that was real. The only family worth being part of. My name is Lucas Bennett. I am 30 years old. 10 years ago, my family excluded me from their celebration and then expected me to fund their lifestyle. I said no. I walked away. I built a life without them. It was the best decision I ever made. Thank you for listening to my story of growing up faster than I ever wanted to. I have left 2 more stories on your screen, both from young men who learned that sometimes becoming an adult does not happen at 18. It happens the moment your family needs you to be strong. Click on whichever one speaks to you. And if you want to join our community of people who understand what it is like to be forced to grow up overnight, that notification bell is waiting. Until tomorrow, remember, age is just a number, but courage defines who you really are.